Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be checking out the new OTA changes, super impactful changes to some of the most played cards in the meta. So let's take a look at them and we'll decide whether it was a good OTA or not. So let's just kick it off. We'll go from like a low cost to high cost kind of. I am looking at Black Knight here, and although Black Knight did not get changed, the Ebony Blade did. We will get to kind of maybe reasons why as well a little bit later on, but for now, Ebony Blade basically is going to lose his your power can't be reduced here, so now it can be Shadow King down to 0. It just can't be destroyed. That's its sort of like bonus effect now. So although the can't be destroyed is still powerful, you can play it on a lot of awkward locations if you're playing like a Black Knight deck, so it's still quite strong. I do worry, for reasons we'll probably touch on throughout this, the Shadow King is going to start reigning supreme, which then means everyone's going to play Luke Cage, which then means games may well come down to, does my opponent have Luke Cage or not in hand or playable? So it's a change I personally don't like. I kind of see why they did it, because sometimes you get to just play a 420 on board and there's not really anything your opponent can do about it, apart from try and win the other locations. But maybe I'm just too much of a Black Knight enjoyer, but I would have liked to have seen something change just a little bit here. Maybe it's still good enough, but I do worry about Shadow King and Luke Cage's impact and sort of push and pull on the meta, especially being based of what cards have not been changed going forward. So that is the first one. Next up, we have a bit of a smaller change here. It's +1 power to Captain America. He was 3/2 when they made him give other ongoing cards +2 in his location. This is good. When I first saw he got changed to a 3/2 with this ability, I thought it was kind of just a nerf to Captain America. So at least he gets 1 extra power. He gives that bit more oomph to those ongoing decks. I do still think he's a little bit niche. I would like to have seen him with a bit more of a broad ability, just to see Captain America played more, honestly. But yeah, not too bad. Just a nice little buff there for Captain America. Shanna got a big buff, guys. She was 3/2. She's now 3/4, so she gained what, +2 power, which is a lot of additional power when she often already adds a lot of power to the board anyway, because she creates basically up to 3 1-drops. And yes, you can low roll and get like 1 power, some cases minus power from Shanna, but in general, she actually kicks out a lot of power for her cost. The big question is, I guess, is do you have enough space? But it's a nice little buff for those kind of Ultron, Zoo, Flood buff decks. So yeah, another good buff there for Shanna, even though she was like played to a reasonable rate. I guess they want to really just boost this archetype. Next up, guys, we have Stegron. I'm a fan of Stegron. I loved Stegron when he came out. Unfortunately, he just got power crept to high heaven by, mainly Cannonball, but even just in general, just got power crept out. He's now not only gained a power, but also he moves an enemy card here 1 location to the right. So he does nothing, I believe, in the right location, but in the left and center location, you can sort of know where that card's going to move to. The only problem is, I guess, as well, is I've not had a chance to test this. It literally just came out, so I thought I'd make the video. I guess if you Stegron left and the middle's full, it just doesn't move. So I'm not even sure how much of a buff this is. I'm going to have to play with it and test it out, but I definitely would have preferred to see something along the lines of move the lowest power or the lowest cost card away, or some kind of like targeted move would have been pretty nice, even if they left it at 4/6, kind of like Cannonball, but without maybe the rock effect and all of that. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. It's an okay change. It's just weird to be like, well, if I don't want to move anything mid or left, it does nothing. But I guess it's still 4/7. We'll see how that one goes. Now here's the big one, guys. Professor X, it's happened. And a surprising change. Like I said, this OTA really shocked me. I thought they were going to make Professor X 2 power, because for those of you who don't realize, Ravonna doesn't then reduce it, because it has to be a 1 power card for Ravonna to make it cost 4 instead of 5. This would mean that Ravonna can't reduce it, so Professor X would just be a 5/2. You got to play it with 5 energy. Here, though, they've not only done that, but they've gone ongoing. Moving is the only way to add or remove a card from here. So kind of interesting, because my suggestion was kind of leave Professor X how he was in his cost and power, but have him basically, maybe you could even up his power, but like have him have the old Spider-Man effect, but permanently, where cards can move and be generated in there, but can't be played, and you could maybe give him a bit more power or something, or make him cheaper. But instead, they've just said cards can only be moved there. So basically, all move cards kind of act like Jeff in that they can just enter the location, but you can't Doctor Doom into a Professor X. So this might actually be a positive middle ground. I do worry though that, well, not worry. I think we're okay, all okay with some time away from Professor X at the moment. But I do worry that with how powerful Jeff especially is, but also like Nocturne, is that does this just not really make Professor X a card? Because so many decks in the game run Jeff and or Nocturne that unless you're so far ahead, you've got like even more ways now to beat this, and it can't come out with at full cost with Ravonna. So we'll see. But even if this is just a bit too heavy-handed on the card, I think we're all okay with not being Professor X cannonballed every day. So not a bad change at all, and I think one everyone's looking forward to. Next up, and yeah, there's plenty more, guys. We've got Cannonball. I think Cannonball's caught a bit of a stray, but I do think that in the notes they've said that they'll keep an eye on Cannonball because suddenly Cannonball's got the same power as Stegron now, although he can be played anywhere. Costs 5 though, and he still does his move the highest power if you can't make it a rock, or destroy it to make it a rock. So losing the 1 power from Cannonball, is it the end of the world? No. Is he a bit weaker? Yes. Is he arguably even weaker now because Professor X, you'll move the card into the Professor X location, as long as there's space, obviously. So like, I hope Cannonball still gets played, because I was worried that they were going to Giga nerf Cannonball and leave Professor X, because I do think Cannonball's a cool card. I like this sort of targeted removal, because not only can you plan for it, your opponent can try and play around it. We saw people play Iron Man, for example, to say, well, it's actually a low power card, but it's still going to have a high impact on the power at that location, and Cannonball won't interact with it. So I think it's got some cool, it creates some cool scenarios. So hopefully Cannonball still sticks around, but a Cannonball and the Professor X nerfs are like pretty big for the meta. Next up, a very quick buff to the Season Pass card, so if you've not got it, you might want to recheck. Gilgamesh now is a 5/9 with the same ability of +1 power, so I don't know, even with just like 3 buffs, you're still looking at what, a 5/12 with no downside in the form of, I mean, like, it's not like a Red Skull or a Typhoid Mary, stuff like that. And you can still get that double on reveal effect. You can Absorbing Man, Odin, Grandmaster, whatever. So Gilgamesh, I think, is a 5/9. Like, that 2 extra power on top of the rest of the power might make him pretty reasonable again. I don't think he's going to be like S tier or anything, but he's much more solid of a card, and probably you can just look at him more as an include in your list if you're running any kind of buffs, or just a lot of on reveal. And another big one, Hela, 6/6, all that's the same, and this is huge. Well, potentially huge. Resurrect all cards you discard to random locations with -2 power. So this, again, I've not played any games of this yet. This is going to be interesting because on one hand, when we look at cards, -2 power is significant. I have won or lost games based on having 1 more or 1 less or 2 more or 2 less power, right? That's a big deal. However, if this Hela is even just summoning a Magneto and, I don't know, I'm trying not to overdo it and say Infinite, a Magneto and a Death, it's still a 6/6 that summons 2 10 power cards. And those cards still have their effects, so Magneto would still pull, obviously. So will minus like 4 to -6 to -8 power potentially have an impact? Because when you think, oh well, if she summons 4 cards, it's -8 power. It's also like +40 odd, right? Roughly speaking. So it's like, and it could be even more. So this is going to be one I'm very interested in. I am very glad they have done something to Hela though, because I was worried it was just going to be like, Hela's a 6/4 now, and it's like, right, Okay, well, who cares? So I am glad, and I'm surprised, but I'm glad they've done something to Hela. And also, what's good about this change? They can make it -3 power. They could make it -4 power. They could make it -5 power or -1 power if it's deems that Hela's too weak. Now I don't know, probably not. But this gives them a good scale that can really impact how Hela plays. And I'm glad because, again, anyone who watches me knows I'm not a big fan of Hela, but not because I don't like the effect. Like, Ghost Rider is one of my favorite cards, so I like that effect. But when 90% of your deck's power is based on, do you have this one card to play or not, it doesn't make a very interesting game of Snap. So yeah, big change to Hela. I'm excited to see if this has an impact or if Hela still stays, one of those kind of like top dog cards. And I believe finally, I'm shocked again. Another change. So basically, I wanted to see changes to Red Hulk, Hela, and we'll talk about the last one in a minute. But we've had a change to Red Hulk. He's now a 6'10", so he's gained 1 base power. However, he only gains +3 power when he does his buff, as opposed to +4. So he'll go up to like 6'13", and then 6'16", as opposed to like really jumping up to like 17 and then in the 20s. So he can actually, if he gets buffed 3 times, he's still 6'19", which is a little bit more manageable than when you start to get into the 6'20s and plus. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. It does bring Red Hulk's power down a little bit. Personally, I'm still not a huge fan of the card because you don't have to earn this, and most of the time when this goes off, your opponent isn't choosing to let it go off. It's like, do I have a 1-drop on 1? No. Oh, Red Hulk's grown. Do I have a 3-drop on 3 or a 2 and a 1? No, I have either a 2-drop or a 4, like 2 2-drops maybe. Okay, Red Hulk's grown again. I can't really do anything about this. I think it's a little bit dull in terms of neither player earns the buff here, whereas at least sort of high evolutionary Green Hulk, you make an active choice to buff that Hulk or not, right? And there's some sort of arguable downside. But yeah, it is a nerf though, which I'm happy about, because Red Hulk was way too big, and like I said, with no real cost to you as the player, and no real play around factor for your opponent with Red Hulk, I like that it's been nerfed, so hopefully it comes down to a little bit more of a reasonable power amount, where if you do want to go in on Red Hulk, then you are committing to, it's a big body, bigger than most, but it's not silly. You're not just playing an Infinite every game with no downside, basically. So yeah, I'm quite happy with this OTA. I'm honestly shocked. Maybe I was expecting too little. But I didn't think they were going to change so many abilities and so many large impacts of like Professor X, Hela, even Ebony Blade, even though I personally don't love that change. I was surprised they did so much, and if these are the kind of OTA changes they want to do going forward, because I do feel like this is a shift in how they do OTAs, I'm down. Right? If these feel impactful, whether they are or not, we will see. But regardless, I think the Hela nerf was good because it's like a dial that it can turn. The Red Hulk bringing him down a little bit, making Gilgamesh actually playable, let's be honest, is also very, very nice indeed. So yeah, I'm not going to make this video too long. Those are the changes. You guys let me know if you like the changes, if you had better ideas. Are they too much? Are they not enough? Is Hela going to still dominate? Is Red Hulk still going to grow too big? Is Professor X even going to be played? Who knows, but it's going to be fun to find out. Make sure you subscribe, like. I don't normally say all this, but it does help me out a lot. If you even just chuck a like on there, subscribe to the channel if you like the stuff. But yeah, I appreciate you guys watching, and stay tuned. I'll see you next time. Bye.